Good afternoon and welcome to the Silicon Web Costumers Guild Presents webinar, Photographing Costumes for Virtual Masquerades with Richard Mann. A few words about the webinar series. The Silicon Web Costumers Guild webinar series offers talks by speakers on a variety of topics about costumes and costuming. The webinars are free to Silicon Web members, and they may also be available to the greater costuming community on a space available basis. Send feedback or suggestions for future speakers or topics to board@siwcostumers.org with the subject line Webinar Series. The chapter would like to acknowledge the International Costumers Guild Marty Gear Costuming Arts and Sciences Fund for a grant award in support of developing this webinar series, and the ICG for making its Zoom platform available to chapters and special interest groups. A few notes on Zoom. Please set or leave your video and audio controls on mute. Feel free to chat or react during the presentation in the chat window. There will be a Q&A period after the presentation. To ask questions, type it into the chat window, and optionally, if you want, label it Q&A so we know it's a question. Richard has said he welcomes questions during the webinar, and we'll present those to Richard as there's time and opportunity during the presentation. When the webinar is over, please complete a brief survey on your experience. We appreciate your feedback, and we use it to improve future webinars. Costumes for virtual masquerades or competitions aren't presented on stage. Instead, entrants submit high-quality photos or videos that may be shot in the studio, on location, or even in a virtual environment. Hugo Award-winning photographer Richard Mann offers advice on creatively photographing costumes for virtual competitions, including choosing locations, using the right lighting, planning shots, adding accessories, and posing that will make judges in the audience go, wow. Richard Mann's interest in costuming began when he married a costumer. When their children eventually became costumers too, Richard had no choice but to photograph their beautiful creations as well. He's been the official photographer for many anime conventions, as well as costume cons, Worldcon, Hugo and Masquerade events, and the Nebulas. In 2023, Richard won the Hugo Award in the Best Fan Artist category for his work on photographing science fiction and fantasy genre authors and artists with his 4x5 large format camera. Richard is the past president of the Silicon Web Costumers Guild and has also published in the Silicon Web's Virtual Costumer magazine. So Richard, welcome, and please take it away.
So first of all, thank you for Silicon Web for hosting this. And thank you, especially thanks to Phil and Kathy for running the show. So I will be presenting some slides. But first of all, since I have the screen up here, Phil mentioned that I won a Hugo Award, and this is it. This one, the more beautiful Hugo Award with a panda coming out from some kind of portal type of thing. So, yeah, thank you so much for your support. I know appreciate your support over the years. So I'm going to share my screen. Slide this over. Okay, so that's my contact information. So if you have any follow-up questions or comments, you can also send it to me. And as Phil mentioned, feel free to enter your questions in the chat window while I speak, and Kathy will relay that to me at the appropriate time. So first, few announcement. I'm sure Phil will mention more later, but there will be Virtual Masquerade, Custom Con Virtual Masquerade on April 18th, the day before my birthday. and there are 3 events. LACon 4, actually LACon 5, sorry. The Masquerade will probably be on Saturday, August 29th. Carrizo and I are the Masquerade directors, and it's in person. And we welcome people entering, or if you are not entering competition, we welcome your help with judging and other things that make the Masquerade great. So we will post the rules on lacon.org in mid-February. And also, exhibit division is looking for customer for display. So if you have some excellent costume that you want to work on attendees to see, contact me. And also, as as many of you might know, I've been working on the transformation cosplay project for over 10 years now, just over 10 years now. I have more than enough materials for a book, but it's basically just life and whatever, keep pushing, delaying the project progress. But I'm really going to try to make a point of finishing the 2 books this year. The first one will be the author's project, portrait projects. So more of it, I will send more information when available later. By the way, I will the slides, I will make it available to the Silicon web, so you guys could follow there. Okay, so what makes a good virtual presentation? If you look at the rules for the CustomCon virtual competition, you really only have a few photos to submit. And I think the doll competition allow a short video. So it's not, you have made a great costume, but you also want to make the presentation great. And that means take great photos, submitting great photos. So obviously aim for showing off your craftsmanship, the fit, and the character that you are presenting if appropriate. And what makes good photo really come down to 4 things: good lighting, good pose, which also means good camera angle, good background, and then you need some basic editing. So camera, the really good news is in 2020s, really any phone that made in the last 5 years or whatever are plenty good enough. So you don't have to rush out and buy professional camera or anything. If you have one, great. But if you don't sweat it. The most important thing about using a camera, your phone camera especially, is where you place the camera angle, and what lens you use. Most phones now have multiple lenses, from wide angle to normal to telephoto, and it's important to choose the right lens for the particular photo that you're aiming for. I would recommend investing in a tripod. It doesn't have to be a tall tripod that the one that extend like 4 or 5 feet up type of thing. It could be just a short little one that you could place on the counter or your table. As long as you get the right camera angle, that's fine. If you are using the front camera, you could buy one of those remote control. That also work with back camera, of course, but the remote control is like $10, $11. That lets you take a photo without touching the screen. So very convenient. If you don't want to invest in a tripod, that's fine too, because most phones now they have stabilization. So even at night, newer cameras have night mode. So even at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., when it's a little bit dark, you could take very decent photos. So camera angle. Everyone know about the selfie angle. It looks great for selfie. Normally, if you talk to photographers, they will recommend not using wide angle lens for portraits because it distorts your face. It makes the nose a little bit bigger and that kind of thing. But for selfie, especially if you place at the selfie angle, which means about 45 degrees from your side and slightly higher up, and you look up to the camera, that's really great for great for portrait because your face is turned about 45 45 degree, and it actually narrow your contour a little bit. This is why it's called selfie angle. It really is great for that. But if really, it's not great for full body shots. If you try that, you'll notice that it shorten your body. So great for portrait, but not for full body, especially if you are showing off your costume. So full body angles, very important, especially if you have someone else take photo for you. You want to position the camera at about the costume wearer's eye level. A lot of people, put it lower down. I'm not sure why, but it just seems to be very natural. And if it's a taller person, then you have the selfie angle problem. You are looking down, and then you have your body foreshortened. So whether you use a tripod or another person, make sure make sure the camera is about at the eye level, and you tilt down the camera down only as much as necessary to show off the costume. So if your costume don't involve, boots or feet or shoes or whatever, you could cut it off at the bottom. But that's another pitfall that you have to follow, which I will mention later on that. I will talk more about posing. Anyone who enter, masquerade or do theater know that when you're being photographed, you want to project a open posture, unless the character is you want to portray something different for a character. But otherwise, basically stand tall and just very open. That looks much better. And if your costumes have like details, and depending on how many photos you are allowed to enter, you want to take close-up shots, also maybe from different angle. Like if you want to emphasize the hemming work from while you're wearing it, you may want to take it from a lower camera angle just for a particular shot. Posing, very important. Avoid. Most people don't know how to pose. And if you ask them to, can I take a picture? They may just stand, your standard front on, arms to the side. It's fine and nothing wrong with it per se. But human being, I think it's an evolutionary thing, prefers asymmetry. What that means is the body's just, even if you turn it just a little bit, you don't have to turn it like, 45 degrees or anything, just a slight turn. And the shoulder is actually pretty amazing. Even just one shoulder is lower than other, that just is more appealing. Same thing with the leg, one leg in front of the other, or feet. And then you have to be careful, especially if you use a wider angle lens. If you put one arm like more in front of you, and if the camera is too close, it tends to make the arm bigger, and that may not look great. So the best thing to do, especially with the phone now, is just practice a mirror, take static photos, or better just put on a tripod if you can, and just do short video. Just turning your body, and then you could review the video later on to really find the best angle for your costume and for yourself that show off the best. And if your costume is a particular character, or if you want to channel certain character, go for it. So here's
Richard.
Yes.
We have somebody who says, I just tried your selfie angle suggestions with my phone and it really does work. Do all phones have wide angle lenses?
So selfie are usually taken with what we call the front camera, the camera on the screen, and almost all of them are wide angle lens. But some are wider than other. So if you take a full body shot with that selfie angle and it looks good to you, go for it. It's just a guideline. And also ask people for how it look to them. So sometimes when we look at something, we have an idea, or as a customer, sometimes the customer don't see everything except the costume. Like I remember taking photos of a customer, and it looks great, great pose, great lighting, everything. And I showed it to them, and they immediately said that little, one piece of the jewelry or whatever is a skill. I mean, they were just honed in on that particular detail because you spend a lot of time making them. So you may not see the whole picture. So it's always good to ask someone for their opinions, not just on the costume. You know what your costume look like and how to make it look good. So the question is, how do you make your presentation also look good, complementary to the costume? Hope that answered the question.
I think so. Another question that did come in is this similar to what some people do for hall costumes? When you talk about them posing in character, for example, if they're portraying Spider-Man.
Yes. So as a photographer and viewer of custom photos, I think it's great if you channel your character. Same thing with hall costume, for sure. And LA-Con, for example, would definitely have awards for hall costuming. And definitely channel your character. I think it just bring another level up to your costuming presentation. Okay, so this drawing that I did illustrate what I meant. So on the left side is, you've seen tons of photos like that. Again, nothing wrong with that. Most people do not know how to pose, and that's fine. But if you look at the illustration, so stand up straight, lift your neck and head up, the shoulder at different heights, the head turn a little bit, 3/4, or again, just a little bit. You'll be amazed what turning a few degrees, what difference it make. There's lots of other, advice on how much to turn your head, etc. But just try turning your head a little bit. And again, like I said, check your mirrors, check your video. You'll find a good angle. Body turn, 10, 20 degrees, whatever. It doesn't really, the number isn't, the specific number isn't important. The point is just turn a little bit. Make sure the arms are like different. Again, it's the asymmetry thing. And make sure you have some space between your arms and your body. A lot of people would like stick their arms to a body. Crossing your arm, that's another common pose. That's fine too. But watch out for the forearm. The upper arm being distorted. And the feet, one behind the other is great. I know some of people do the model placement of the feet, which means one foot pretty much like right behind the other. Special for people that prefer the people, woman wearing heels and that put out certain posture. Yeah, that's one way to get that posture look. Put one foot behind another. You don't have to do that. Just as long as it's not straight on, it will look much better. So pitfalls in posing. So like I said, you don't want too much details, because details distract, especially if you only have a few photos to submit. You want to look your best and not with too much distraction. So, but if you crop, be careful not to crop off basically at the body joints, your wrist or your arm, like the elbow, or your knee or your ankle. Just right at the joint is like really bad. Otherwise, then cropping is really good. Avoid using the wide angle lens for reasons that I mentioned, but it worked for you, great. So that's why I recommend actually using a wide, step back and use the normal lens or telephoto lens. You're going to get a lot of background, but that has the least distortion. And with the newer phones, they have lots of resolution, so you could crop in and still show off the costume and your presentation without some of the distortion that I mentioned. And portrait mode, great for portrait, but it may blur out some of the details of your costume. So use it. If you use it, just look at it carefully. Make sure it doesn't eliminate details that you want to show off. So lighting. Diffused, soft light is preferred, but I will mention about the Rembrandt lighting later. So the best thing to do is either outdoor in shade, but watch out for hot spots, or indoor, if you have a window that has side lighting, those are really great. Basically, you want to avoid, in general, harsh or distracting spots. So on the photos, the demonstration there, the left-hand one, you can see is really just very nice, no distraction. On the right-hand side, it's outdoor, there's particular tree leaf shadow, but even just harsh shadow or your sunlight in the back or whatever, that's distracting, and that hides some of the costuming and whatever. If you are doing indoor, like I said, the best is a window that let in light from the side. The camera, most phone cameras are very good and can accommodate different lights. So even if you have tungsten light or fluorescent light, it could handle it. The white balance will do a good job. But you just want to avoid different lighting source. Most people now have LED, but you don't want to mix, LED with tungsten or fluorescent type of thing. On the other hand, don't be afraid to, put a small light to shine at some of the detail. Like let's say you have some details at the bottom of your costume. Put a desk lamp on the floor, shine at it, and see how it look. So, especially if you have like shiny costume, let's say, getting to glitter may be good. So try different things. So Rembrandt lighting. So I found this painting after I did the drawing. So first of all, notice this is a painting by Rembrandt. Notice this is like almost exactly what I said how to pose. One shoulder is higher than other. The arms are at a different position. The feet are one in front of other. The face is slightly turned. It's exactly what I said. But the Rembrandt lighting is basically a very strong side light. And that's a picture in the next slide to show you how to do it. If you have space, a photo to show off a hero shot, so to speak, you want Rembrandt lighting. This is the dramatic pose. If you want to channel your character, it just, try it. If you could afford to submit a photo using Rembrandt lighting, do it. It's just great. But of course, don't only use Rembrandt lighting unless it doesn't mask all the costume too much, because half a costume will be cut in shadow. So if you don't mind that for your costume, that's fine. So, and the Rembrandt lighting is pretty easy. It really just means that you put a light at 45 degrees, and that's it. And the reflector there just means, if you have a reflector that will make the light on the darker side a little bit less dark. And if you want, you can pick up a reflector from Amazon or whatever for $10 type of thing. You'll be amazed how much difference it can make. If you don't have a reflector, but if you have some, mat board, foam core type of thing from your frame, they actually work pretty well too. Background, if possible, plain smooth color wall. So, for example, the outside of your house, garage, unless you have patterns or stuff like that. A lot of people said, "Oh, I would just use curtain. It's white and all that." The only problem with that is it could be wrinkly or have pattern. So there are ways to compensate, like using portrait mode or things like that. But SiW can avoid those, and stand as far forward from the background if possible. That actually, for example, will make the like, even if you have to use a wrinkly curtain, make it less distracting. Especially if you could control your camera using wider aperture or whatever. Avoid distracting pattern. So if you do it outside, you feel good about staying in front of some bushes and stuff, but just watch out how the bushes, how it interact with the rest of the background. They may form a distracting patterns, and just test it out. So in here, that's the famous example of bad background. There's a pole growing on the head, and the trees are just distracting. They don't add anything. And the nicely trimmed bush is nice to an eye, but right there is unless that's the effect you want, it plays a cut in the middle of the frame. So basically, when you reveal your own photo, obviously the most important thing is to show off your costume, but then step back and say, is that a good photo? So editing.
There is a couple more questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, one person is saying, what about using filters on the phone camera? I know you said something about the portrait mode.
Yes, so that's actually a cover in the editing in that sense. So filter. So the most, in my opinion, I don't know. Obviously, it's up to the Masquerade director that run the virtual competition. But in my opinion, I would think that you don't want to modify the costume on your photo, whether through editing or filters. Modifying yourself, I think, is fine. Like, for example, if you your makeup smear or whatever, anything, right? I think, in my opinion, it's fine to do some editing on yourself. But the costume, since it's for a competition, I would think that you don't want to modify it. So filter, same thing, right? If you use filter, it may make your costume different from quote unquote in real life, like changing the colors, right? Or changing some of the look and feel. I don't think that's good for the purpose of a competition. Now, if you want to do it as just to show off at social media, by all means, yeah, find a filter that you like, that just for, for social media or for your portfolio, for that matter. But I think for competition, you want a realistic thing. Any other question, Kathy?
Someone is asking, they did black embroidery on a black costume and they could never get the photos to come out well. Is there something you can suggest?
Yes, that's, black cat in a coal mine. Yes. So yes, that's one of the most difficult thing to do. What I would do is, first of all, just blast it with a lot of light. And what you want to avoid, you do that, is distracting reflection. Like if you use bead or something that may some specular reflection. So just play around with the light. Like I said, desk lamp type of thing, whatever. It works great on that. Just blast with a lot of light. Try not to use the on-camera flash, because that's kind of unpredictable. You don't know how it come out. And to avoid some of the light spot that appear, you could also, like if you use a desk lamp, you could just put a piece of gauze, whatever, thin cloth over it, and that will, again, diffuse the light a little bit. So once you blast with a lot of light, hopefully you will see some detail, and then the editing will come in handy, which I will talk more about when I talk about this slide. Any other question?
Somebody did ask, is there a best color for a background or a backdrop?
So neutral is great. You don't want it to compete with your costume. So this is why most photographers use gray or white, off-white type of thing. So that's why we recommend. Now, let's say you have a your white feathery costume, then a darker contrasting color would be fine. If you could, if you have the budget, you could actually get a short roll of paper backdrop from Amazon or other site. They come in different width, but for most people it would be like 4 feet wide, would be fine, and you just get as short as possible. Unfortunately, they do come in at least 15 feet or 30 feet or whatever. But what you can do is, and they cost, I would say they cost about $30 per roll type of thing. Just cut a large sheet off and just tape it off to your garage door or whatever. And it makes an excellent backdrop. So that's why I would recommend, if you could afford to do that. That solves a lot of problem.
Thank you.
All right, so editing. So like I mentioned, unless the Masquerade director allow it, don't edit your costume. This also means no AI editing. Sometimes some of the app is a little bit blurry whether they're using AI or not. But basically, if you use any kind of editing, just make sure it still represents the realities of your costume. So what I would recommend is you want to crop first, just get rid of the distracting thing. And then if you use for example, an iPhone phone app, even just a simple phone app, obviously they are much more powerful editing program, but the basic app works fine. If you click on the adjust button, the order of the button are actually the recommended way of editing. So just click on that magic wand. It may do, everything you need just by that single click. After that, if you think you could do a little bit better, the next button is usually brilliance. And that just means that, it makes the shadow area, darker area brighter, and the areas that are too bright, a little bit darker, lower the contrast there a little bit, etc. And then if that doesn't work well enough for you, that's the highlight and shadow. Highlight is what we call, so if you just think about a image, the three, what we call tones. The mid tone is basically your, middle, not too hot, not too dark, not too bright. Highlight is the area that are bright, and shadow is, just shadow area. So sometimes, especially if you have a costume with a lot of fold, or bead or whatever, or like if you do a quilt and it's inside, in the inner lining type of thing, they're in what we call the shadow area. It's a little bit dark. So if you adjust, if the automatic things don't work well enough, you could change the shadow, like make it brighter by hand. So those are the control that you have. And most of the time, even like I said, even the photo app is plenty good enough. And so for the dark on dark thing, like I said, blast with a lot of light, and then usually just playing with brilliance and shadow would do a decent job. You could, if you have black cat, try it. This is one way to get, or black dog, this is one way to get the details in the fur. It works really well. So that's pretty much the bulk of the presentation. I'm looking into offering virtual photo shoots for things like this. You will need a tripod, and you need to find good lighting and clutter background, etc. It will work with iOS and Android, and do all your prep beforehand. And I will deliver up to 5 processed images, and I will get it set up by March. So it should work well for the virtual competition. It's optional, obviously, and you should be able to do a good job without, without this. But if you think you could use a little help, I'd be happy to, help around. And then in summary, really, you guys make great costume, but the presentation is great costume plus good photos. So practice in front of a mirror, know how to use your camera, learn basic editing, and just keep taking photos until you get it right. And also that means, even if you only have work in progress, practice, find your best pose, find your best angle. So practice video and photo even before you're finished, and have fun. Most of this advice actually work fine for video. And for video, short video anyway, the same recommendation for the walk, presentation at a in-person masquerade is the same thing. You want to look big, like I said, on video. You want to do a good skit, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, so that's all I have for now. I will turn over to Phil, and you guys could ask any question.
Okay, we have a comment from a fellow photographer, I assume. He says, one thing that is helpful is to have somebody else look at those photos before you submit them, not the photographer and not the costumer, because sometimes you miss things, and that helps you also make sure that you're not accidentally naked anywhere in the shot.
Yep, exactly. That's yes. That's why I mentioned that too. Yeah, have someone look over it, because you like I said, customer will just zoom on any details of the costume. and just missing maybe there's a distracting dog in the background or something, that kind of thing. Yes, for sure. Have someone else to look at it. There's no there's no redo. You are spending a lot of time doing costume, so make them look great in your presentation.
Richard, could you turn your face camera back on?
Yes, if I know how to do it.
There
Okay.
you are.
Can you see it?
Someone else was asking, do you have a favorite software that you use for editing?
Yes, like I said, for what I talk about here, and unless you're a photographer type of thing, the basic phone app is fine. But otherwise, I would say I myself use I myself use Lightroom as a photographer and artist. It does what I need to do. But even on the phone, that's Lightroom mobile. But on the phone app, there's something called Snapseed. They're highly recommended. But tons of other. What we talk about here is relatively minor. We're not talking about any, fancy photography editing type of thing. So, yeah.
Someone else is asking, when I hand my camera to somebody to take a picture of me, I always say to them, center on the body, hoping they'll get my whole costume. But is there something else I should be telling them?
Yeah, that's a very common because, you kind of like, you want to see a whole body. So obviously you put the camera lower down. The problem with that, I mean, play with it. I could be wrong, but for most people, it looks the best if the camera is at the eye level and then tilt down a little bit. Because that's the problem we have here is basically the eyes don't work the same way as a photograph. Human eyes are just amazing. They don't see distortion, basically. You look down at a person, obviously the body would be distorted, but eye and brain just compensate and just see things differently. So try a different way. This is where a tripod come in handy, or if you find someone, just try it, different angle. Try eye level, mid body type of thing. Low angle actually will work for certain, especially if you want to show off either the details at the bottom of your costume, or if you want to appear, those are what we call the power pose. You've seen it, the feet, the leg appear kind of large because it's at the bottom up, shooting up. That's like the power gesture. And that may work for your costume and for your character.
Richard, I have a question for you. Do you have any opinion about virtual backgrounds in terms of either using a green screen or lifting the figure out of the photo after and putting in a background?
Yes. So, first of all, I guess it depends on MD, right? Masquerade director. But assuming they don't have a problem with that kind of thing, I think actually it could be a lot of fun. Most newer phones app can extract the background. I mean, the person really well. So if you have green screen, great. But even on if you have, like I said, if you buy some paper, plain color paper, or a lot of time you don't even have to now, the phone app can extract the person really well. And then you could place, different virtual background on that. It is really just amazing what they can do. The main thing is make sure they don't if you have costume that have like stick out bits type of thing, make sure they don't, accidentally cut out some bits that you want to preserve. And then otherwise, yeah, especially for, let's say, future fashion or whatever, if you have a virtual background that work well with the idea of that character that you want to portray, yeah, go for it. Just make sure it doesn't overwhelm your costume. In the end, you are still showing all your costume, not a digital, painting type of thing. So, but otherwise, I would say go for it.
The other question I had, Kathy and I are the co-directors of the doll competition. Do you have any special thoughts on photographing dolls? Because it's a little bit different than people in terms of posing and things.
Yeah, I'll think about writing a slide on that. I think dolls are great for photo competition. If we because for a couple of years I photographed a lot of ball joint dolls that people have with costume. Most of them were not homemade, were not made, but purchased, but still, the idea is the same. So with the dolls, basically, you are talking about more close-up or macro shots. So again, blast with lots of light. Just use your desk lamp or whatever. Just aim it at the doll, at the costume. Make sure all the details can be seen. With such a smaller costume, if there's any fold or 3D details, some of them will be in the shadow. So you just want to blast with light, and then you editing, like I mentioned, to bring up the shadow details. But otherwise, I don't think there are too many. So you don't have the problem with camera angle per se, because the doll is so much smaller. So I would say with dolls, it's very important to get more detailed shots. You don't necessarily have to like stand up the doll. Doesn't hurt to take a full body, so to speak, but you want to show more the details or workmanship, for example. But yeah, blast with light and bring up the shadow. That's the main recommendation. Whether you use wide angle or normal, doesn't matter that much with the doll, but yeah.
So this whole issue of light boxes, for instance, the same kind you use.
Yes, light box is great. For dolls, you could get a light box setup from Amazon again for about $100 or whatever. Those are great. They diffuse all the light, so you still have to aim some bright light through the top and the side and whatever, but it diffuse the light and make everything nice and soft.
All right. Any other questions for Richard? Well, Richard, thanks so much for putting this presentation together. It's been very helpful. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody else has. And I want to thank you for doing this and wish you luck with the Los Angeles Worldcon Masquerade.
Thank you. I will send you a copy of the slide in PDF form. So if you want to put it up on the Silicon website, you have my permission to do so.
Great. They'll post them along with the recording of the video once it's available. It'll be there that people can download. Thanks so much for doing that.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone who joined. If you have further questions, my email is will be on the PDF, or you could ask Phil to forward anything to me. My address is actually just richardman.photo, MAN with one N.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our next webinar will be on March 1st, 2026, from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be having Miss Lizzie's Historical Fashion Show Special Interest Group Chair, and award-winning costume historian Lisa Ashton to talk about collecting and studying costumes and other historical items from the 1830s to the 1930s, and to see some of the items in her extensive collection of garments, photographs, artifacts, style periodicals, and ephemera from the time period. So registration is open for that already, and please join us then. And feel free to share on your social media as well. Announcements of upcoming webinars are mailed to the Silicon Web Costumers Guild and ICG members list. They're posted as events and notices on Facebook, and they're also published in the Silicon Web's Virtual Costumer magazine. Information on upcoming webinars also appears on the calendar page of the Silicon Web Costumers Guild website. Recordings of past webinars, including this one, are available on the webinars page. This one should be up in 3 or 4 days, and we'll send out notices to everybody who's registered for this webinar that the recording is available. Information on joining the Silicon Web Costumers Guild is available on the Join Us page. So thank you so much for attending this webinar, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.